What's up, everybody? We're back. End of the Bench Show, episode 10. It's May 13th. We're recording. We got Pat with me again, our good friend Chris Perkowski from Charging the Mound. Chris, what's going on, man?
How's it going, man?
Not bad, not bad.
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Quarantine is what it is at this point. Getting kind of comfortable, which is good and bad, I suppose. Definitely ready for it to end. Ready to hopefully see some sports
I'm looking forward to getting a haircut.
Yeah, that's
Same
my
here.
biggest thing.
Same here.
That's my biggest thing. Pat and I talked. I think last episode we both had. I asked him like the first thing he was gonna do like after quarantine. He was like, "I'm gonna go to a bar," and I was like, "No, I'm going to the barber. I'm gonna go like 6 a.m. I'll wait on any line."
But your hair don't look too bad. Like
that's because I do.
Our hair's getting kind of shaggy.
When I don't do it, it's below my eyes. Like it's pretty disgusting.
Yeah,
so
I'm getting this like twirl here that I've never had before.
I feel like Maria and Katie are like, this is really when the time, like, they love you or not, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
I had a big mountain man beard that Maria was actually upset that I shaved, which was a surprise.
Damn, we should grow that back then. I mean,
yeah, seriously.
I tried to grow a beard, it didn't work. I grew a mustache. My mom liked it. Didn't tell me she liked it, so I like shaved it because I had a meeting for work. So I come downstairs. She's like, "Why'd you shave it? It looked good." I'm like, "Well, I wish someone would have told me that. You guys just looked at me like I was an idiot the whole time." But whatever. I digress. So obviously today we're going to talk about the big news. The NBA has a new official ball starting in 2021 season. That's really big news because it's. I kind of joke like we're obviously not going to talk about that, but they've used the same brand Spalding for like 39 years, so it's like, it's kind of a big deal.
So that's real? They actually are changing the ball?
Yeah, they're going to use Wilson, which like everyone uses anyway, like growing up.
Okay.
And we're going to talk a lot about baseball, and like balls are a pretty big issue in baseball, so it kind of ties in.
Well, really quick, can we talk about the new Rams jerseys?
Yeah.
Did you guys see them yet? They're terrible.
Absolutely horrendous. I don't know how that got past the initial stages, but I'm cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the color scheme could work, but the design itself, terrible.
The color scheme's good because it's the royal blue with the yellow that they were using last year as their home the last 2 years since LA as their home uniforms.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so their away uniform was still the uniform that they had when they were in St. Louis, as Maria walks in the background. So all they had to do was change the helmet to match the home uniform and get an away uniform, design one that matches their home uniform.
Yeah,
and then instead they just changed everything.
It's terrible. Like, I don't get how.
It looks like a create-a-team jersey on Madden, like in Madden 05.
Dude, I've seen on Twitter and everything, I've seen it looks like a Best Buy uniform. It looks like they're working at IKEA. Like I'm seeing like the funniest things on there, and it's hilarious. But
one that I saw on Reddit said that it looks like a team on a CW show that they couldn't get the rights to the NFL. Like
that's good too. That's good too.
I kind of like.
Yeah, but they're terrible.
Go ahead.
They're terrible. Yeah.
I kind of like the gray one.
They went from one of the. I think the gray's awful. The gray on gray, I think, is awful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the picture I'm on.
But probably just the picture. Well, one of the issues about that, on that bone-colored one, it's got just that white patch that just says Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
That doesn't go, and I don't get why. Like, they even bothered with that.
The gradient number, too, is horrific.
Yeah. Nah, it's terrible.
They went from one of the best uniforms in the NFL in their home uniform to fighting for the worst.
Oh yeah,
it's a bad change.
There's a lot of teams that are making some adjustments to their jerseys. Going forward,
there were 6 teams had full redesigns. In the Rams, Chargers, Browns, Bucks, Patriots, and Falcons. I thought
Falcons one's not good either.
No, Falcons are terrible.
No.
I thought the Browns were great, and the Bucks were great, and the Chargers were great. Chargers look awesome.
Yeah, Chargers one look good.
Patriots,
Chargers look good.
Yeah, the Patriots just look like the Texans uniforms.
A little bit. That was something I got with them too.
And what else do we have? And yeah, the Falcons have a gradient too. Like it goes from black to red, and it looks horrible.
Yeah, no.
Or red to black,
like
one or the other. No,
it just has ATL across. That's just not. I don't think that's good. But
it's like it looks like Arena League. It's like an Arena League jersey.
Yeah. This is what we talk about when there's actually no sports on the field. We got to talk about fashion.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is.
I'm staying quiet because I kind of like the Falcons ones. So
really?
You like the Falcons one? All right.
Yeah, that's why I'm just staying quiet here. And one of you guys talk about it.
I just feel like they could have done more.
They definitely could have done more.
Yeah.
I really like the Browns uniforms. I like them going back to the mid 2000s look.
Nice and simple, clean cut look.
My only thing is that now that it doesn't say Cleveland down the leg, how am I going to know what team I'm watching?
I think you'll figure it out. I have confidence in you. I don't have confidence in everyone else. Like I actually do think that may be an issue, but I have confidence that you'll know who you're watching at least.
But I think I'll figure it out. But like I said, the Bucks are tremendous. Going back to their
the Bucks look good.
2002 look, tremendous.
Yeah,
and Brady's going to look great in that uniform. And at least they got rid of the calculator number.
Yeah, that was. I never understood that concept.
No,
I never understood the Jags concept when they had the two-tone helmet.
No.
Yeah, that was weird. It was good that they changed that.
Yeah,
it's like they try to be futuristic, but we don't like. A lot of people just like a little bit of now with a mix of the past. And if you combine those the right way, you get a hell of a design. Don't try and be futuristic with it. It doesn't look.
Yeah. Make it look clean. Like I was. Yeah. You just said futuristic. I was about to say like they're going for like these like new age looking uniforms. Like trying to just go for a clean uniform. Like the Browns are clean. The Bucks are clean. The Chargers I think are clean. Like they've got they've got like 5 or 6 jersey sets coming up this season, and they all look tremendous.
Yeah.
And they've got a helmet that matches each uniform. I just not even any sarcasm. I wish the Bucks would have gone back to the creamsicle as like an alternate.
That would have been cool.
I love the '70s creamsicle.
Yeah, those were nice. Those were nice. I think a lot of people when they heard the Bucks were going New Jerseys, they thought they would get some sort of alternate in there. But maybe it'll happen. Yeah. I mean, maybe in
a couple of years,
pressure
maybe
from the fans and all. But we'll see.
Yeah.
One question about the Chargers though: are they going to have the numbers on the helmet? Do you know? Because I think that was on the design. They are. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
Really?
I don't know if I'm a fan of that.
I
don't know. It's just
like that.
I'm finding like a nice simple design on the helmet. I don't like the numbers. I don't know. On the back, I understand, but on the side, like the main portion, I don't know. Maybe I don't think I'm a huge fan of that.
I think it's just retro to the way that when the Chargers were first formed, those were the helmet style. I think it's just a nice throwback to a callback to their history. I think it's kind of cool.
Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the numbers on the jersey.
I can totally see I can totally see your point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I didn't know we were gonna do that. That was fun. I
like talking about jerseys. I like talking about jerseys.
I like talking about jerseys.
What you're looking at when you're watching the game.
A lot of people like jerseys, and that's one of those things like I cannot care less.
You could take them or leave them. Go on the field naked. You don't care. Honestly,
shirts for skins. Let's do it. Survival of the fittest. Whoever bleeds first loses. That's what we should do. So I mean, Chris, we want to talk a lot of baseball, but we could fit in other stuff. So I know you're a big sports fan regardless. You're a big wrestling fan. So did you watch the UFC or are you just wrestling?
So I used to watch UFC. I sort of got off of it. I have some problems with like management in the way that like people like John Jones and I don't know why I'm blanking on the Irish guy's name.
McGregor.
they're like those guys are able to get away with murder with no consequences of their actions. Like when McGregor fucking threw the hand truck at the bus, broke a window, glass got in the guy's eye, and then he had to miss several fights.
He brings in the money. That's the thing.
Exactly, but that's a problem.
Draws the crowd.
Yeah.
I understand. No, I get that, but it's a problem that like these guys get slap on the wrist and nothing else. John. How many times has John Jones failed a drug test, got a DUI, failed steroid test, and it's still there?
Yeah. The reason I ask is I know, like,
I just have problems with that.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I ask because like there's nothing on, and I never really watched the UFC. So on Saturday, I bought UFC.
Did you watch the fight on Saturday?
Yeah, I bought UFC 249. I subscribed to ESPN Plus. We're recording early tonight, so I could watch Fight Night. Like I'm hooked. I'm all in now. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen, which is why I never watched it. Because now I'm going to spy every single pay-per-view and dedicate my life to it. And it's just going to be a wormhole that I went down, and I only have myself to blame. But I did watch it. It was really cool.
I got into it in like the days of like Chuck Liddell and Cain Velasquez and stuff like that, and so I have my thing is that like I feel like they're struggling to build new stars in UFC. I feel like other than John Jones and McGregor, there's not that like recognizable name. So I can't get sucked in. I can't get. But then at the same time, WWE is the same thing, that they're struggling to build stars constantly for the last like 5 years. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what pushed me off of WWE. I was big into WWE. You and I used to talk a lot about it. Perkowski, I remember. It's just not the same as it was. I understand it's never going to be like it was in the late '90s, early mid 2000s or whatever it was like that. But it's just. You just see the same guys over and over again. And they're not marketing any new talent that can be put over. The crowd loves them. But there's one thing that I have watched a little bit of. It's AEW because I feel like Cody Rhodes and company there are doing a pretty damn good job at what they need to do. I still like WWE. I don't follow it religiously like I used to though.
Sure.
It's just I'll see the results. I follow it on Twitter and Instagram and all that, but I'm not tuning in every Monday or Tuesday night anymore.
Sure. I get that, and I think AEW is doing some really interesting stuff, but I think they're quickly falling into the same problem of like I've already seen the same matches a bunch of times, and they're using the same guys on the roster. They've got a fairly big roster and a lot of guys that aren't being used already.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they're falling into the same issues. But if they can climb them, like claw their ways out, I think they'll be all right. I mean, they've got a lot of money backing them, so and some smart guys like
guys who have been in the business for as many years as they have. So hopefully they'll be able to turn it around, and we'll see what comes out.
I mean, not to say they're doing bad. They're doing obviously very well already.
Absolutely.
It just sucks that what's going on in the world happened in their first 9 months of existence.
Yeah. I just remember seeing WrestleMania in the Performance Center. I didn't watch it, but I was following it and everything, and I'm just like, that's just nuts. Like this was supposed to be a sold out like 100,000 people. Yeah. And they're doing it in their Performance Center where they train new upcomers. Like it was insane to even just like consider that. But I mean, it was there were two good shows both nights, but it didn't feel like WrestleMania. Like without the crowd and And you feel bad for like somebody like Drew McIntyre who was released 6-7 years ago, got on the Indies, built himself back up, got rehired, and now is getting his moment, and it happened in front of 0 people. Yeah, absolutely. One thing about Drew McIntyre was at a Met game when it was WWE night once. I saw him walking around. Holy shit, that guy is massive. Like I looked at him, I'm like, oh fuck, all right, he is pretty like. Yeah, fucking ripped. Like not even just ripped, like big, tall. Like oh my god, I didn't like. He really doesn't do justice like what we see on TV anymore. Man.
When when you see him against like with people in WWE, like he doesn't like stand out as being that big, but he's like 6'6".
Yeah, he's a big dude.
I'd see him. I saw him on the Indies when he got released, and I was like, this dude's fucking massive.
Yup.
And you just don't realize how
you don't.
What a behemoth of a man that he is.
Yeah, it's insane. Absolutely insane how big that man is. I can only imagine what a guy like Braun Strowman looks like in person.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
His name alone makes me think that he's going to be quite large.
He's about
he's a
6'8",
he's a very
6'9",
big
and he's
man.
like 400 pounds of muscle.
His father is actually like in the Professional Softball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
His dad was basically a human wrecking ball when it came to hitting. Like he hit like 600 feet bombs.
Yeah.
There's videos of him on YouTube I've watched. Like it's insane. They look exactly alike too. So
Yeah, I mean, I hit 600-foot bombs too, so I'm not intimidated by
yeah,
that.
not in the show, yes, but I mean in real life, like this.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, do you think we're going to play softball this summer?
I'm getting very doubtful
Yeah,
as everything goes on. I don't think it's going to happen. I know our buddy Nick Landy from the Landy Lodge is he's trying to be as optimistic as possible,
yeah.
but I don't think we're going to play.
It sucks. It really does because that's one thing that I look forward to on Sundays during the summer.
Softball, yeah.
Yeah, working all week. Saturdays I like to relax and spend time with Katie, and then Sundays I like to play some ball with my boys. So
time to blow off steam. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Your long week at work. Take all your anger out on Sundays, and then and you're all good for the upcoming week. But
yeah,
I mean,
Maria and I both bought new bats just before the season started. We did batting practice twice. I felt fucking great with the new bat. I
bought my new glove.
It looks. I love the cookie. I
know. I was so happy when they when they said they were going to do that. And when I put that in, I was so happy they were able to achieve that.
Like I said, I felt really good. I got it end loaded for the first time in my life, and I was like, this is balls flying off this bat, and then we're not going to get a season.
No, it sucks, but we'll see what happens. I mean, you never know, but I'm not too optimistic.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll also see. This brings us to our main topic. We'll see what happens with the MLB season.
Golf,
yeah. So Pat, you wrote an article for theendofthebench.com. Are you possibly ready for baseball? Possibly is the title I gave it, which is pretty good. Usually you send me stuff that's a little behind the curtain, Chris. Usually Pat sends me stuff and he's like, I can't think of a title. Just think of something.
Yeah, and this not good at titles.
This is basically the same title that Pat gave me. So this was good, Pat. I was very proud of you for that title.
I appreciate that.
So Pat, why don't you kind of break down the proposal that the MLB owners approved and they're presenting to the union, or already presented to the union?
So basically what we know, according to reports, is that the commissioner, Rob Manfred, and its owners brought to the table a proposal plan to get baseball going again in 2020. A couple tidbits that we noticed, or that was reported, was that it would be roughly an 82-game season. They would keep the divisions intact, so we wouldn't see that East, Central, West idea that we saw.
Yeah.
They still be 2 leagues, 6 division, but you would only play teams in your geographical location. So, like, Mets and Yankees would only be playing teams in the AL and NL East. They wouldn't be any, West Coast trips or anything like that.
Yeah.
They would add 2 wild card teams and essentially an extra wild card round, so 14-team playoff. The universal DH would be in effect. And, of course, the biggest concern that the players will have during this is that they proposed a revenue sharing plan. So an essential bigger pay cut to what the players have been told. Apparently back in March, they had already been an agreement, the union and the owners, an agreement of a prorated salary for the season. So if they play 82 games, that's 50% of the year. They would be paid 50% of their salary. Now this new proposal is basically saying, we're not going to do that. We're going to cut it so the owners are essentially saving money. So it comes down to, again, that billionaire owners don't want to pay their employees. And that's going to be the biggest thing that, frankly, I don't see the union agreeing with that. Perkowski, I don't know what you think, but I don't
absolutely not. No, the players are not going to go for that. They're not going to. what it comes down to, and I wanted to mention. So Mark Teixeira made some comments yesterday, saying, you know, these guys should just be taking the money that they're being offered. You know, this cut, you know, as you said, and just play. But I mean, we don't know a lot about this virus. We know now that it, you know, heavily damages the lungs and the liver and stuff. So you're asking guys to potentially put their lives at risk for less money, you know, like to play a game when it's not necessary to play the game. Like,
I hope, you know, of course, I'm sure in the proposal that you're going to see, you know, good health and safety measures.
You'd have
that's
to,
obviously key. That was obviously key. But yeah, you know, you got to take into effect, like, you know, they are going to be playing, you know, potentially in a very dangerous predicament. So why would they accept you cutting their salaries even more, whereas the owners are basically doing anything they can to keep money in their pockets?
Exactly.
I mean, how would you feel if you're told that you now have to go into a more dangerous work environment, but we're still not going to pay you what you were originally told we were supposed to be paid? Like, we wouldn't do it as normal everyday workers.
Yeah,
so,
it's like, go fuck yourself. I'm not doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's going to pass. I mean,
sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
You also have to consider a lot of players that may, you know, spouses who may be, you know, have autoimmune deficiencies or may have pre-existing conditions. You consider umpires, managers who are generally, you know, older, about 50s, 60s, who are getting into that area of being, you know, the age group that's more prone to it. Or not more prone to it, but that it you know, can be more dangerous too. So you have to be considerate of things like that. I think that's very important. And like I said, players are going to, you know, they're going to be looking out for their families and their own health. I think before anything, as well as not being screwed out of money that they're entitled to in their contract.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I mean, trust me, I'm just like, I'm sure all three of us, you know, along with the rest of the world, we want sports back. Like, it's killing us to not have it. But I also, regardless of how much I want sports back, I'm still going to be on the player's side in this. I mean, you got to understand where they're coming from. Yeah, I mean, people are probably saying, oh, they make millions of dollars a year. You know, what's $5 million as opposed to $10 million? I'm like, it's not even necessarily the point. How would you feel? Like I said before, how would you feel if you were told you have to go into dangerous work environment, but you're not going to be paid, you know, your $60,000 a year salary? We're going to cut it down to $30,000. Like, I mean, obviously it's a different predicament, but it's the same concept. You're doing the work for less money, but in a more dangerous environment. No one's going to want to do that. And I mean, the owners are just going to have to, I think they're just going to have to take this loss. Suck it up, take the loss.
They're not going to make it back. I don't know it. Like,
I don't think they're going to come back
money back.
I don't think they're going to come back with another proposal after this. I think
they're not. But what I'm saying is that the owners have to know that they're going to make the money back.
They have to, but I mean, it's also these are greedy billionaire families that are not willing to put that money up front. Another thing that the revenue sharing plan is essentially correlated with, as Tony Clark said it, president of the Players Union, it could lead to a potential salary cap. You know, with the new CBA coming up, who knows what they try and draw up or anything like that. And Players Union has been adamant for years that there will never be a salary cap in baseball. It's just not going to happen. You know, they have these guaranteed contracts regardless. Salary caps are not going to ever come into effect. And that's what essentially this revenue sharing plan is. And they just don't want that to lead to another thing. Tony Clark has spoken out about it. Scott Boras, super agent, has spoken out about it, of course. Because also his bottom line is up against it too. But there have been players that are just saying it's laughable. Trevor Bauer had even come out and said it is absolutely laughable, this proposal. So just seeing some guys like him saying no way, I don't see how this is going to be approved by the union. I really don't.
Yeah, I want to read a Twitter thread from Sean Doolittle, the reliever from the Nationals, who's very vocal on issues like this, and has a pretty loud voice in the Players Union. He said,
is he the Nationals representative?
Yeah,
I believe he is. He was the A's representative, and I believe he's the Nationals representative now.
Okay.
He says, bear with me, but it feels like we've zoomed past the most important aspect of any MLB restart plan: health protections for players, families, staff, stadium workers, and the workforce that would require to resume a season. Here's some things I'll be looking for in a proposal. Because this is a novel virus, there's still so much we don't know, including the long-term effects. On top of respiratory issues, there's been evidence of kidney, intestinal, and liver damage, as well as neurological malfunctions, blood clots, and strokes. COVID patients often develop lung scarring. These were found even in asymptomatic patients. So he's saying, even with the resources that the research that has been shown is that, like, to ask the players to do this is putting them at significant risk if somebody were to contract it. And he addressed somebody told him, like, hey, if you don't want to play, then just stay home. And he said, some people telling me to stay home if I don't want to play. We're asking these questions because we want to play. We want to restart the season again. We also want everyone it would require to resume a baseball season to be as safe as possible. I know that some people have gone back to work. I think you could argue that many of those people are providing more essential and immediate services to their communities than baseball. But these concerns apply to workers in every industry. So, and I don't want to go so much, but he said some more pretty important things. He said, he said, it's why we have a responsibility to do this ethically. Can we ensure that we will not be diverting resources like tests and PPE from people in communities and more essential workers? What if a player sustains an injury and needs surgery? How will that work? And it's true that the vast majority of players are not at risk of developing severe symptoms, but when so many of our coaches, clubhouse staff, and workforce are in the higher age groups that might make them more vulnerable, we have to make sure they're protected too. It feels like the conversation about an MLB restart has shifted to the economic issues, and that's really frustrating. Until there's a vaccine, let's focus on keeping everyone as safe as possible and minimizing the risk so that we can play baseball again.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Kai.
I'm saying, like, I'm still, I'm very, scared with everything that is happening, and, the numbers of everyone being infected and all that.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm going to be someone who's going to be like, sooner or later, we are going to have to try and get everything back to the way it was. It's going to be a very slow climb to get to that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you don't realize, like, how much it actually is affected. I'm reading his I remember reading the tweet the other day too, and I'm looking at it again, and this is something I didn't even initially think of. So he goes talking about, like, potential daily test or weekly test once the season starts to make sure everyone isn't infected. So he goes, so how many tests do we need to safely play during a pandemic? And not just tests for players. Baseball requires a massive workforce besides the players: coaches, clubhouse staff, security, grounds crew, umpires, game day staff, TV and media. We need to protect everyone else. And that's before we get to the hotel workers and transportation workers. They are essential workers. We wouldn't be able to play a season without them, and they deserve the same protections. Some people may not be taking that into effect either.
Exactly.
And when you think about it, that's even more people than one would realize in a potential startup again. At first, I didn't realize that. Seeing this here, he's absolutely 100% correct. So I'm really hoping that, hopefully, we don't know the details of this proposal, but you got to hope that the proposal has very necessary and very good safety measures in effect.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm gonna chime in here, Chris. I don't want to cut you off, but I'm gonna chime in here. So
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave the room. This is fucking ridiculous. You asked me to come on and then you shut me up.
You asked to come on, actually. So I mean, Pat, like you said, like, we don't know all the details of it, but I mean, of what we do know, I don't think it's gonna get passed because the revenue split is gonna be the biggest thing.
Definitely.
The original proposal, I guess the original proposal is what we'll call it, back earlier in a few months ago that they were presented, they had, or at least I heard they had this provision in there that if there were extenuating circumstances, they can revisit, the money that the players would get. And they're going to claim that, not being able to have fans in the stands is one of those extenuating circumstances. So it's just something, it's frustrating for the players, obviously. And I do want to take, like, the other side of it. It's also frustrating for the owners because I'm sure a lot of them do rely heavily on the gate. For a bulk of their money.
Can I just come into this?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say you're 100% right. A couple of articles that I read is that 40% of revenue is generally comes from concession, souvenirs, ticket sales, everything like that. That's 40% of the yearly revenue. And last year, MLB did about $10 billion in revenue. So you're essentially cutting that in half. So it is about $5 billion is still a lot of money, but it is a big chunk that is essentially being lost.
Sure.
Right.
But could you? I mean, maybe I'm overreaching, but like I'm imagining that once baseball does come back with an audience, because it's not going to happen this year. 2020 season, if it's played, will be with no fans. But let's say everything, there's a vaccine, everything gets under control. 2021 season, everything's back to normal with live fans. I think the attendance will probably break records, because I think people will be clamoring for live sports.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just something to get into. To get into the stadium, seeing a live sport, once it's all said and done. I don't know if
vaccine, yes.
Yeah, I mean, we also don't know how this is going to affect NFL season either.
Yeah, exactly.
So
even
that's
teams
like
Cleveland and Pittsburgh, who do bad attendance, I think are going to break their own attendance records.
Yeah.
Like with because again, fans are going to want to be there to see sports finally back.
Yeah.
No, you just made a good point. I don't think if the NFL season's played, I don't think it's going to have any fans either.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, they're pretty adamant about starting on time.
Yes.
So we'll see how things play out. You got plenty of time until then. I mean, training camp generally doesn't start until early August. So I mean, you get 2-3 months to really have to worry until anyone has to report or anything like that. But you hope within that time, something is figured out. But we just don't know yet. I mean, anything could happen between now and then. I mean.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with the NFL as well.
And I want to clear up something, because I know like the 50-50 revenue split, you guys are absolutely right. It does lead you to believe that there will be some sort of salary cap. But I know that there are a lot of people out there, a lot of sport fans out there who don't actually know how salary caps are like created. Like they're not just an arbitrary number. So the reason why this is going to matter is because they are determined based off the revenue of the previous year. That's why you see them usually go up from year to year, not down, because sports always make more money generally. And this also, I mean, this is a big thing, because this also would then, the players would have to see MLB's books, and they've never seen the owner's books.
No, they've never been released to the public at all.
And I am almost positive as an accountant that before the players would even see them, they would be not fraudulently altered, but they would be, some numbers would be moved around to before they saw them. I am almost 100% positive. It would be nothing unethical.
I mean, that's absolutely going to be the case.
It would happen, because that's what accountants do. We move numbers around and make it work. But I don't know. I think that's the biggest hurdle. I mean, it's the non-starter for the players, because they feel wronged and they feel like they're getting the short end of the stick. And people will say, well, why do they care? They make $50 million a year or whatever. I mean, that's too high, but you guys get it. But like the owners make billions a year, and they're going to make it for a lot longer than the players. And that's, that's the big thing. But anytime, in CBA talks and talks like this, the players are going to be the ones vilified. It's just how it goes. I know the three of us will not vilify them, but the vast majority of the public will go after the players and, blame them for not playing.
Yeah.
Which is just ridiculous. I mean, we forget that they're human beings and not just
silly,
like objects of entertainment.
Yeah.
The other part that I wanted to hit on is I'm looking at an article now. It says that they're going to propose 30-man active rosters with a 20-player taxi squad. That's going to be a lot. Like, you want to talk about MLB trying to increase the pace of play, like that's going to definitely change it, because 30-man roster, they're going to have a shit ton of pitchers in the bullpen unless they have like a limitations on it and stuff.
Unless they have a hard cap, of like, all right, you can only have 14 pitchers on the roster.
Well, you guys also still remember there is still the 3-batter minimum that was going to be enforced in the 2020 season too. Yeah. So take that into consideration.
I think they could change that,
you
though.
Still got to face it. I don't think they would. I think they're pretty adamant on if they're going to do it. They're going to keep that 3-batter minimum.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, for this season, they may
we'll see.
push it back one more year. But that's another thing with all this stuff.
While like, we're talking about,
let me finish that one. But like another thing, like all of these things that MLB proposes, the players are afraid of setting precedents by accepting them because even if they put in, oh, this is only like in case of a pandemic, and we would like to think that's a one-time thing. We never knew this was going to happen, and it could just surge again in another 5 years, and then they're back at this. And
exactly,
it's a lot bigger than as fans like that we want to think of. Like we just want to think it's easy. Like it's it's 50-50 of a shit ton of money. You'll be fine, but it's you have to think of generations after you, and not everyone is Mike Trout. Not everyone is named the highest paid players in baseball. I mean, MLB average salary is like $500K, which is good, but not everyone's making $30 million a year.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see some sort of pandemic clause in the new CBA that they come up with in a couple of years. It's just something that God forbid this happens again. The players are protected.
Yeah, obviously you can't fault both sides for not having it now.
Yeah, completely. Scott, you say like this could happen again in 5 years, but I think another possibility that has to be considered is like if they rush things back in the country, especially with trying to rush sports back, and there's a second bump, or a second curve, and then everything goes back again, and then all of a sudden the 2021 season is in jeopardy,
Right.
But I think something that's extremely important that's being sort of just not talked about a lot is how much this is harming minor league baseball.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
The minor league affiliates are in jeopardy of staying open past this season. So if they don't get support from the teams, I know like there was the entire argument in the winter where minor league baseball was trying to fight for higher pay for the players, and Rob Manfred got his panties in a bunch and was like, and was saying that like we'll just disband the agreement with minor league baseball because Rob Manfred's a terrible person. They're at a terrible spot. I don't know if you guys are hockey fans, but right now the AHL just canceled the rest of their season.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
Are kind of in jeopardy of closing, which would be hugely devastating. They need a lot of support from monetary support from the NHL in order to stay open. And minor league baseball is an entity that's going to need the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know. Absolutely. I knew the AHL canceled their season. I didn't know they were like so close to like canceling everything. Because of it. Like
minor league sports don't make a lot of money.
Oh no, yeah, of course.
I feel like that's known, but like what you'd expect them to make, they still don't make.
Yeah, I think like people think they make not a lot in comparison to MLB teams, but they don't make a lot in comparison to like an ordinary company.
Yeah, like
I mean, theoretically, you think about like how much our yearly salaries are. Minor league baseball players, very low level guys, they're making like maybe $7 to $10 grand a season. That's just for 6 months worth of work, and then they got they have to get other jobs after that. So people don't realize.
It's exactly. Maria went to high school with a pitcher in the Twins organization. He's in AA for the Twins, and he posted his pay stub on Twitter. He made $12,000 last year.
Yeah. People think like you play professional baseball, you must be making good money. I'm like, if you're a top tier player in the majors, sure, but if you're grinding it out on buses across the country and you got to stay in crappy motels, some minor leaguers they spend like 6-7 guys to a 1-bedroom for 6 months out of the year. You don't realize how much they really hurt during the season.
Yeah, or they get host families in the city.
Yeah,
So and you said obviously they make bad money. The most money that a minor leaguer sees, unless you're like a first-round pick or something that you're guaranteed to see time in the majors at some point, is your signing bonus when you're drafted or signed. That's the most money you're ever going to see in your baseball career.
And those,
that may only be $20,000. You know.
Yeah. And then it goes into those, they're young kids, and you just hope that they do the right things, have the right guidance when they get that big. Well, I mean, maybe not even huge, but a big savings
account. Yeah. You hope they put it all in a savings account, but I'm sure a lot of those guys are like, I'm going to go buy a car. I've never owned a car before. I'm going to go buy one. Like,
especially we see guys coming from overseas, or these Latin American players. They grew up playing with mop handles and bottle caps. When they were young, depending on the village that they were in. I'm not trying to be stereotypical or anything. I'm just saying this does happen.
Yeah.
Of course they get that first check and they want to do something. They want to spoil their parents or their family members, do anything they can.
There's a great documentary. It was a 30 for 30, probably about a decade ago at this point, called Broke. And it's about Major League athletes who went broke because they spent all the money that they made. There was a football player. It completely passed my mind of who it was, but he said he got his paycheck and it was $50,000 driving from the practice facility and drove past the Lamborghini dealership and pulled in and spent his entire paycheck on a car. And he's like, and then I did it with every other paycheck after that, and I had no money when my career was over. And he's like, and I was out of the league in 3 years and I had no money because I didn't save it. And that's not like a single thing.
That's not an outlier.
A lot of professional athletes that happens to, because the average shelf life of a professional athlete is probably about 3 seasons.
All throughout all sports,
probably about 3 to 5 seasons.
I agree with that.
Because it's rare to get a 10-year career in the NFL, to get a 15-year career in the NBA or NHL, to get a 20-year career in the MLB.
And then some people need to realize, like, that's why you see so many holdouts in the NFL, because these guys they only have a short amount of time to make their money. At most they have maybe 6 or 7 years, depending on the position you play. You see guys like running backs getting hit on every play. Wide receivers opening themselves up to big hits, over the middle of the field.
Yeah,
guys like that are going to want more money guaranteed, or just more money in their contract, because they know that one hit and then it's over. Like, that's why you see people don't realize that that's why they're holding out, not because they're being selfish. It's because I want to make my money now because I don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, in the NFL, the NFL is the biggest example of that, because other than, once you're done with your rookie contract, the first time that you hit free agency is going to be, for many players, the one time you're going to get a chance at big money.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. So, I mean, I think the stuff that everyone forgets about, like all sports being shut down due to coronavirus, is all of the high school kids that are losing their senior season. And Chris, I know you texted me like almost right when it happened, when the MLB cut their draft down to 5 rounds for this year.
Yeah.
Would they cut it down from like 5,000 rounds to 5? Or
it was like 40. I think it was 40 rounds. Is the
40 rounds,
number.
You don't realize how many players are in an organization until you see the draft is 40 rounds.
Mm-hmm. And you see with the 1,168th pick, the Athletics take. Yeah.
But I mean, joking aside, it is a huge problem for the kids, and I mean, it's completely devastating.
There are a lot of kids in college who are now or high school who were going to get drafted and now are not, and are going to now go to junior college or go to college. Maybe they didn't even apply because they thought they were going to get drafted this year. Because some kids don't commit to a college because they're banking on getting drafted out of high school.
Yeah, no, I follow. For those who don't follow, there's the Starting Nine podcast. It's a Barstool baseball podcast. I follow them on Twitter. And a couple days ago, they tweeted this out in regards to the cut in the draft. With MLB cutting the draft to 5 rounds, here are some of the best that would have gone undrafted: Wade Boggs, round 7; Andre Dawson, round 11; Nolan Ryan, 12; Albert Pujols, Jim Thome, 13; Brett Saberhagen, Don Mattingly, 19; John Smoltz, 22; Mike Piazza, 62nd. Think about all those names, that otherwise, if this had happened when it did, you would not know any of those names.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have, but it wouldn't have been,
if you
very
don't
small.
if you don't think this is an issue, go through the drafts of the last 15 years and look at the names through the first 5 rounds and see how many actual like everyday major leaguers there are.
Yeah,
It's probably not a lot.
Not a lot.
No, not a lot.
Because baseball is the most like weirdest sport with drafting, because these highly touted kids getting in the draft never pan out.
Mm-hmm.
You can't bank on prospects in baseball.
Yeah.
Hockey, basketball, football, it's completely different.
Because you're seeing those guys almost immediately. Baseball, you get a draft. You draft a kid out of high school in the first round. He may not be looking at the majors for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So like you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's a tough situation. I mean, what I hope, to kind of piggyback off what you just said, Pat, what I hope is that since there's only 5 picks, maximum for a team this year, that all of those players will be more valued in their system, and maybe they get a little more like fast tracked to the majors. And then I hope like a lot of teams use like the undrafted free agent thing and just sign a bunch of kids, like regardless if they got drafted or not. But then it brings you to the point where if they're cutting all of this minor league baseball stuff, like where are they going to go once they get drafted?
That's the other thing, is that there's no farm system. If minor league baseball fails and dies, there's no farm system.
Yeah. Because I think if there was if they weren't trying to make these cuts to the farm system, but they had like a 5-round draft, it's still a big deal. But I think it could be much more like counteracted, because you could sign kids regardless if they got drafted and they still have somewhere to go. But now it's like, now you're just like, sorry, like you gotta go to school, which is not a bad thing to go to school. Obviously, get an education, because the odds of you making it to the major leagues are so slim, as we've covered. It's still a good idea to go to college. Unless you just have like that amazing confidence in yourself, which is also great, but. It's a shitty situation for the kids. I mean, those are the people, I really feel for them in that situation. I was not good enough to even have to think about this when I was playing sports in high school. But, I mean, we all know someone who went to college for sports, like, and eventually got drafted. So, I mean, it's a shitty situation for them. I hope that, it's a one-time thing, in terms of the draft length. Kind of think that, I don't know what I think. I understand that why they cut it, but I think, like we were talking before, Perk, I think 5 is just like really
very short. It's very short, and I mean, we already said it, but like thousands of kids just lost their chance of getting drafted, and one of those kids could be the next, like you said, the next Mike Piazza, Albert Pujols down Mattingly.
There's gonna be like some kid who goes undrafted, becomes gets signed, can make it to the Hall of Fame, and it's going to be like a trivia question at the bar, like what round did Joe Schmo get picked? And you're like, oh, he wasn't drafted. That's gonna be a big trivia question in like 10 years, 10 to 15 years, if we could remember that.
Totally. Pat, I want to ask you, as a fan of a National League team, what do you think of the universal DH?
He better love it.
I am a fan of it. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this. A while ago, I'm pretty sure I wrote about it on the end of the bench, and I expressed my liking of it, and I knew it was gonna. I'm very adamant that it was gonna come either way.
The writing's been on the wall for years. Yeah,
it really has. I know a lot of people like old school National League baseball with the strategy of the double switch and when to bring in certain guys, and I do love that, absolutely. But I got to be honest. Everyone also is a fan of, look at what, guys like Noah Syndergaard and Jacob deGrom and Madison Bumgarner can do when they're at the plate. Yeah, those guys are outliers when you look at predominantly the entire league. Pitchers can't hit. They're not developed to be hitters up until, even minor league baseball, they don't have pitchers hitting until you get to roughly AAA, and then it may either be only in the International League or the Pacific Coast League. So they don't come up hitting. Yeah, they may have been like really good hitters, in high school or anything like that, but they don't touch a batter's box for a majority of their career. So I don't have the exact numbers. If anyone who is interested in seeing it, you can go back and read my posting on it on the endofthebench.com. But I break down all the good reasons why the universal DH is good. Pitchers can't hit. The average for pitchers was well under 200. I think in the 2018 season. It opens up an additional job for players, so I don't see how the players union could ever hate it. It gives guys longevity in terms of their career, so guys who are getting older but can still hit, but they're definitely cannot be on the field. Guys like as Albert Pujols, as he got older, he's strictly a DH. Imagine if the Cardinals had the DH, he may never have never had to leave there.
Yeah.
And then you got guys who are being developed strictly as hitters, and they don't have a spot on the field. They're just thrown at a first base, or he's decent at third. Like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., great example. Guy is an absolute beast at the plate, but he is a very below average defender. He's at third because that's all that he can get the simple ground ball or whatever it may be, but ultimately his numbers at defensively at third are terrible. He came out being developed as a hitter. So I don't see why, sir. I mean, I see why people are against a universal DH, but your writing has been on the wall, like you said. It was going to come. I mean, you kind of have to just accept it and move on at this point.
Yeah. I think what pitchers hitting had going forward in the National League was that, and for baseball especially, is that in baseball there's only baseball is the only sport where there's an actual difference between the two leagues.
Exactly. That's the other thing too.
Yeah. So I think what a lot of people are, they're like, well, if you're going to get universal DH, then just get rid of the AL and NL and realign everything. Which I don't agree. Just keep the AL and NL.
No. I like American League National League.
Yeah, but I think this just helps teams. Like a team like the Mets is the best example, because you've got guys like Cespedes now, who's going to be back, who maybe didn't have a spot in the outfield, or you can actually put good defenders in the outfield. You've got a guy like J.D. Davis. You've got a guy like Cano. You've got a guy like Alonso who can take a day off from first and hit. You've got Wilson Ramos, who's bad at catching and can hit. You've got Dom Smith, who can hit, and now he's got a spot at DH now. Like teams like that, like the Phillies with Jay Bruce, now they're able to use his bat now.
Exactly.
And then you just look to the future, because again, the Phillies signed Bryce Harper to 13 years until he's 39 years old. So instead of having to plug a 37-year-old Bryce Harper in right field or left field, they can have him DH 12 years from now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and John Heyman tweeted today, although I'm not a big John Heyman
fan, but
sucks. I agree. But he had this tweet of like teams that it would help, if the Universal, and he said the Dodgers because of their great depth, which is whatever.
Oh, the Cubs because of Schwarber.
Yeah, the Nationals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Brewers because of Ryan Braun, and as we said, the Mets because of Cespedes. I do think the Universal DH will come. I don't think that's not going to be a problem in this negotiation for sure, because the players
will go for it. The players will go for it.
The players are fans of it. The players are absolutely.
Pat, you just made the point before. Like for every Syndergaard and DeGrom and Bumgarner and Michael Lorenzen and Zach Greinke, and Shohei Ohtani, there's a million other guys who bet 075.
Exactly. I mean, think about how many times you get the 9-hole coming up. You got men on first and second, one out.
Here comes
you got
a
a rally
strikeout or a
going.
ground out.
It's gonna be all right. We can't get into a double play here. You got one out, double play depth. Bunt the guy over. All right. You can even look at the numbers. I mean, I've read the sabermetrics books. I've read Keith Law and all that. Bunting in certain situations like that, you're more guaranteed not to score that run than you are to score it. So like you're just giving it away, and it's such a rally killer. I mean, I hate seeing that. And I do love the strategy side of the game. I also noted in my article, and I remember every time I watch this movie, it makes me laugh. Have you guys ever seen Little Big League?
Yeah.
With the Minnesota Twins? Okay, so they're talking about, for anyone who hasn't seen it,
very realistic film.
It is. I really love that movie. But the whole point of the movie is, 12-year-old kid, his grandfather owns the Twins, grandfather dies, he inherits the Twins, becomes a manager. So there's the scene where he's talking with his friends, and he's like, yo, you should manage. You know the sport so well. And he goes, you know how hard it is to manage? And the kid goes, it's the American League. They got the DH. How hard could it be? And I'm like, holy shit. That's like, it's funny,
really
but it's
line.
true. Like, you don't have to deal with certain situations and the strategies. American League managers don't have to do that. National League managers do. So
Yeah.
respect. I'm not saying a National League manager is 10 times better than American League. Not at all. It's just it is different games.
There's more to maneuver. Yeah.
Exactly, and I understand why baseball purists they're going to miss that, and they're like, oh, it's not going to be like old school baseball again. Guys back then who were pitching and hitting, that's what they did on a daily basis. Guys now don't do that. You have kids, like 10 years old, who just want to be pitchers. They don't even focus on hitting. You know, and then you're telling them when they get to the majors or high level of the minors, all right, grab a bat. What? I don't do this. It's just like I'm ready for it. Let's just leave it at that. I mean, if you want, I think it also comes down to the thing like if you have a pitcher who wants to hit and he can hit, you can plug him in as a DH. I don't think that's going to be against the rule.
That would be so.
I don't know why you would, unless you're Shohei Ohtani. But
well,
I mean,
different.
yeah. Well, I mean, some guys may be able to hit like that. I mean, you look at Baumgartner can hit. DeGrom
if the Mets
can hit.
DH DeGrom, what would you do? What would you do, Pat?
Oh, I'd flip out because now he doesn't have to hit. So why would I want to risk that? I'm not saying that I'm for that. I'm saying if people are saying, well, I want to see the pitchers hit, I'm like, all right, so then you tell your team to get your star player, who is your star pitcher, who can hit a little bit, tell him to hit. Go ahead. Go see how they say that.
DeGrom got hurt 2 years ago because he was swinging the bat in the on-deck circle.
Yeah, I just – you get paid to pitch. That's where they're getting their money.
Yeah.
Don't put the additional risk factor. The DH just helps everyone involved. And I don't – players love it. Some fans are going to hate it. Those fans are just going to have to get over it, just like they had to get over the fact that netting increased from, the dugouts all the way down the line. I mean, it's going to be an issue you're not even going to worry about.
The people I'm glad you mentioned that because the people that complain about the netting, they're like, how do you not? You got to just catch the ball when it comes at you. I'd like to see them get 120 mile an hour line drive get hit at them, and they've got
you could be paying
how quick
close
they have to
attention.
react.
Yeah, you don't realize it until it's like right here.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and they go, we'll pay attention to the game. You've never sat at a game where you were staring, literally looking straight the entire time for 3.5 hours. That has never happened.
Yeah, and if your vision is so bad that a little netting that has holes about this big in it, and you're complaining how you can't see the game,
you
go to the upper decks so where you don't have to worry about the nets.
You can't even tell that there is netting.
No, you can't. You really can't. I remember I've been down those field level seats, and I've seen the netting. I'm like, I see no difference. It's not affecting my view, and I now feel safer. So that is nice.
Exactly. I mean, now I know that I'm not going to get like brain damage from a foul ball. Like it's great. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. You want to get that souvenir, but you're not as likely to get a foul ball in those seats as you think. It's not like, I'm sitting here, definitely going to get a foul ball. No.
Yeah. You want the souvenir and the story for people like, how'd you get the metal plate? And you're like, Bellinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never even had a foul ball hit anywhere near me, so like.
No, I've never come close.
And I've been to like close to 100 baseball games in my life, so it's extremely rare. And I mean, Pat, like me and you have sat down low at Citi Field. Yeah. We sat there last year. Didn't notice the netting. Sat really close in Yankee Stadium. You don't notice it. Like, people love to complain about change, and they love to complain about anything that's different. So. Those
as
people who tell you to catch the foul ball can go shit in the head.
As the great Brad Pitt, as Billy Bean said, adapt or die. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what baseball's lived by these past 100 years. Adapt or die, that's for sure.
I think what it comes down to with the DH is that home runs rule. So, like, why don't you want more home runs?
Especially nowadays, where they're juicing the ball to increase home runs, which you think is going to increase attendance. So, obviously, not allegedly. Let's get that.
We're a politically correct podcast. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Politically correct. Allegedly.
I just told someone to shit in a hat, but we're politically correct. Go ahead, Pat. You finish. Sorry.
No, I'm just basically saying that home runs that's what the league, the front office, or the commissioner's office, whatever, is what's going to drive fans in. At least new fans. If they're going to think that, then the universal DH is one way to help that cause. Mm-hmm. So why not just make it official at this point. So I think if this 2020 season does happen, you get a perfect trial run to see how it works.
Yep, home runs are king. Outs are at a premium. You don't want to give a team a free out. That's why bunting is gone, even though I don't really agree with that. And that's why pitchers shouldn't hit.
Yep.
So, something me and Pat started doing, I think last week, maybe like 3 or 4 episodes ago, was asking our guests their favorite sports moment. You didn't have to be there. I didn't warn you, so I know that you may need some time to think. So, Pat, do you have one that you didn't talk about already? Because I have a list of like 800 because I have to be ready for everything.
Sport moment that I'll always remember.
So what did you say last time? You said the whole.
It was the Wilberforce home run in 2015, and Johan's complete game shutout in 2008. Those are my 2 big moments that I remember.
Not the no-hitter?
No, I was at in 2008 the second last. Yeah, okay. Me and Landy were at that game. So like
Ed Metzger.
And Ed Metzger, yes. That we decided to go on a whim. It was the second to last game at Shea, and we were just like, I want to go back one last time. I had already been to like 12 or 13 games that year, but I'm like, I need one more before it's gone forever. And we went. He gets that complete game, 3-hit shutout, 3 days rest against the Marlins. It was honestly the greatest game that I've ever witnessed live, and I'll always remember that.
Yeah. I don't even remember what I said last time, Pat, to be honest. Did I say the Clint Frazier walk-off? I think I said the Clint Frazier walk-off,
yeah.
Yeah, that was one that I was at. I was also at the A-Rod game against the Angels. He hit like 4 home runs and like 10 RBIs or whatever he had. That was pretty cool. That's a Yankee classic. I'm just trying to buy time for you, so I need.
All right. I mean, the immediate one is Boone's walk off in Game 7 of the ALCS. That comes to mind. 95 playoffs, Mattingly's home run. The call, hang on to the roof. That's one of my favorite calls ever. In terms of one that I was there for, 2012 ALCS Game 1, the Yankees had lost, but Ibanez hits a pinch hit home run. This is 2 days after he hit a game clinching home run against the Orioles in Game 5 of the ALDS. Yeah. And then he hits a pinch hit home run, pinch hits for A-Rod. I've never felt a stadium shake like it did after he hit the home run, because it tied the game at 2-2. And they ended up losing 4-2. That's one of my favorite moments that I've ever been there live for. In terms of, I guess, not baseball, I would say I'd like to pick a Giants one, I guess. I'd like to say the Tyree helmet catch, the Manningham catch down the sideline, Burris touchdown in the end zone to clinch the win against the first Patriots Super Bowl. If you ever have John 2 on, I'm going to steal one from him because the Minneapolis Miracle is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was with John that night. We were watching the game together at Newbridge Inn, and he fell on the floor when it happened. Like, he literally, it's not a hyperbole, he literally fell on the floor, couldn't get up. He was in complete shock. And then I went home, and he was just chilling. He had some other people come, but I didn't know he had other people coming. So I was like, fuck, I can't leave John there by himself. Like, I got to be there. So I went back, and he was just sitting there at the bar. Like, so no, he was sitting in a chair at this point, but he had so much food in front of him, all the drinks, he had shots. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a hell of a night for my boy.
Imagine if they had won like the following game and got into the Super Bowl.
Dude, he said he was going to go to Minnesota and like hibernate for like 3 weeks. Like, we weren't going to see him. So like, I can only imagine.
Yeah, because the Super Bowl was going to be in Minneapolis. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's a good
I
one.
don't know if I have like a. I'm trying to think of like good Jet moments that I've had in recent years.
I have a lot. The butt
The
fumble.
butt fumble. Fuck. Same
Oh
time.
yeah, I forgot about the butt fumble, man.
When we traded Leonard Williams to the Giants for a 3rd-round pick was a pretty good one.
That's actually is a good one for you guys. I'm stupidest fucking trade of my lifetime.
I was being very serious. Yeah, no, that's all we got. Curtis Martin is a good memory. Just the name alone.
I don't know. I don't know what Gettleman was thinking as a team with 2 wins. Going, I think we need an extra defensive end. I think we need to lose a draft pick to get him.
Well, let me ask while we're on the subject real quick, Scott. I don't know if you have a couple seconds real quick.
I don't know how
just
long
nice
we've
and
been
quick.
talking, so
nice and quick reaction. How did you feel about the Giants draft?
I think they did a pretty good job. You know, I went in saying we need an offensive tackle. I wanted Jedrick Wills or I wanted Andrew Thomas. They took Andrew Thomas. The huge consensus around him is that he is the most pro-ready offensive tackle in the draft. His tape at Georgia's, you know, fucking great. He bowls over people. Then you go in the 2nd round and take Xavier McKinney, who should have gone in the 1st round. I think that's a steal. He slots in perfectly at free safety as an immediate upgrade over Julian Love. 3rd round, then they went with Pert, the offensive tackle, who is going to be, you know, after this season, probably going to be the starting right tackle after they buy out Solder after this year. So, and then they went and got the guy Lemieux from Oregon, who has been taking snaps at center. His tape at guard, he's a mauler and just bowls over people. They through one draft, they built up their offensive line for the next 3-4 years. So in that alone, I think they did a great job. And then you look at the depth, you know, the depth pieces that they did on defense. They got the slot corner whose name I can't remember in the 4th round, who is going to immediately probably start at slot corner. I don't think there's a reason that they can't win 7 games. They got a pretty tough schedule, but I don't think there's a reason they can't win 7 games this year. Overall, I think they did I think it was Gettleman's best draft by far. His focus was protecting Saquon and Jones, and he did just that. So I don't think, you know, I can't be much happier.
I like that.
I agree. That's what I've been seeing. A lot of Giant fans are very happy with it, which, you know, if you win Twitter, it's not bad. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the Jets draft for you guys then?
Loved it.
I
personally loved it. They hit everything that they needed to do. You get Becton in the 1st. They got Mims in the 2nd. Traded back, and they still got him.
2nd,
I mean, a lot of people thought, you know, outside of the top 3 guys at receiver, he was up there. So the fact that he dropped so low. I
saw a lot of mocks of him going at like 29-30.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Then they got Ashton Davis, the defensive Swiss Army knife out of Cal. He's going to play in the backfield a lot. They did what they had to do to protect Darnold. They gave him one main weapon in Mims, but then they also got Perrine, running back out of Florida. So that's an additional weapon that he might have. And then they later got 1 or 2 more linemen that they'd be able to plug in when needed. So I think Joe Douglas had a hell of a draft, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they pan out in the upcoming years.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think the Jets had a really good draft, and I think the main question mark is Becton, just because he's such a low floor, high ceiling guy that those are always risks. But I think at 11 you can take that risk, you know, with the hope that he's going to be your franchise tackle.
He's an absolute bust.
No,
not bust. Hopefully, knock on wood, but that dude is one massive human being.
Yeah. My fear is that he's going to be an Eric Flowers, and as somebody who went through Eric Flowers, I know how frustrating that is.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, Flowers is good now. As soon as he's got the Giants, he's good now.
He's good now that they moved him to guard in Washington. But I think the Jets actually are still able to go make a move and sign like a 1-year veteran like Jason Peters. just to get a little more protection and maybe to groom somebody like Becton. You know,
that'd be good. I wouldn't hate that. I mean, we got a couple of good signings with I think it was McGovern at center and Fant on the line as well. So Douglas did some good there. But I mean, we got some good undrafted free agent signings. I don't know all the names off the top of my head, but they hit positions that they absolutely needed. But yeah, I like the draft. I think it's the first time in a long time the Jets have had a top draft.
Definitely.
So Joe Douglas did what he had to do, and I don't think there's a lot of Jet fans who are really against them on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's become just a meme every year of who are the Jets going to take that the team is going to be, the fan base is going to be livid about. We see every year there was that reaction of the Jets are on the clock, and then they announce it, and the Jets fans are like,
"Yep."
Well, they didn't have that moment this year.
We couldn't see that moment either, so that may be why.
But still, the reaction on Twitter and social media seemed, at least from what I saw, seemed extremely positive about the Jets draft.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap it up there. Chris, I want to thank you for coming on. If you want to plug anything, the floor is yours right now. Let you do your thing.
Sure. So Charging the Mound is the blog that I run. I was not really doing it because I'm in grad school, and that takes up pretty much all my time along with work. And now there's no baseball. I don't, it's just sitting there. So Charging the Mound, if you want to go read the archives, that's there. I had a podcast that I did that I'd like to restart once baseball season starts. That's also Charging the Mound. It's on iTunes and Spotify. You can go listen to those archives. And then my personal stuff is at Dr._Perk on Instagram and Twitter. Perfect.
Chris, well, thank you again for coming on. Pat, thank you for coming on as well. We've a 5-star review. Subscribe, everything on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at _underbench, Twitter at EOTB. Hit the support link in the podcast description. 50% of all of your monthly support goes to No Kid Hungry. And thanks again for listening and watching. And Pat, Chris, take it easy and enjoy your quarantine.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, bud.